All right, we have a full house, pardon the pun, joined by some two parliamentarians and an advocate. Let me introduce them to you. I'll start with Geoffrey Wendeto, who is the MP for Tetu. We also have the Member of Parliament for Nambale, Geoffrey Mulanya, karibu sana. And we also have Advocate Duncan Okach, karibu sana. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned, Anthony Oluochu is the MP for Mathare, will be unable to join us on account of his having been bereaved, and again our condolences. So, gentlemen, good to see you.
Thank you.
Studio, Citizen TV studios. I was thinking we could start with SHA. Looking at the newspaper review, this stalemate between RUPA, which is the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association, has and the Social Health Authority has resulted in some hospitals not asking patients to pay cash and not accepting the insurance. So your thoughts on that? We have the health CS Aiden Duale saying, you need to undergo verification before any payment is made, so you must cooperate with us. But then they're saying the debt has reached levels where they can no longer sustain it. I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa, for Nambale.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this issue that it need to be looked at very critically, because when you have private hospitals threatening to pull out, we find that Kenyans are going to suffer in terms of receiving medical care. But also, we must also support government in this, because I think a few weeks ago, we had issues whereby we saw the health CS moving around the country with issues that there were malpractices affecting the same private health providers. So, as much as we are saying that the delay in disbursement, the private health care must also come and support the government in this, because on one hand, you are blaming the government for not disbursing money. On the other side, the government is saying, yes, we disburse, but we have rogue hospitals that have fake bills. So are you seeing? So it becomes difficult how to balance this thing. So as Kenyans, we need to come and look at it and say, where is the problem? So that, because the person suffering is a Kenyan. Yes.
Wakili, your thoughts?
Yes, I've always said that the intention behind SHA is good. The problem is the fact that it was rushed, and more importantly, some of these teething problems should have been identified during a proper dry run, and it should have been progressive. And ideally, a good example is what you saw in terms of the universal healthcare that was put up by the former Makueni governor. And it really worked well. And thereafter, it should have been something to learn. And at this particular point, you find that the issues that are now afflicting this noble idea are issues that you can't wish away. If these private hospitals are telling you that they are owed 75 billion Kenya shillings, it therefore means ideally it will be unreasonable for us to expect them to still offer services and offer them at the same quality that we would want when they do not have the resources to at least utilize. Because this is someone who has used his own money, 75 billion. You still expect him to continue giving services. They might as well continue, but it will not be that quality, and it will not be the expected kind of service that any Kenyan would want under SHA. And these are private hospitals, leave alone now the public hospitals, which are still grappling with these issues. So I think the reality of this is that as much as the CS says that there is a probe that is ongoing, you still must ensure that, because health and sickness is something that is a day-to-day issue, that you still empower these hospitals, even in terms of a certain percentage. Say, fine, we will pay you 30%, and we will have our ways. There are mechanisms of recovering if you surely know that there's an issue. But you cannot even say that you'll have a blanket freezing of payment when these same hospitals are issuing a very important life-saving service on every minute that passes. So that's something that I think the CS should do. We will support, and Kenyans support the aspect of the probe And maybe you just even identify certain hospitals that you have an issue with. But it cannot be that this entire organization can come and say, we are all suffering. It is a genuine concern, and I think it should not have reached this particular point, because SHA has had its fair share of challenges all through. The president, the government is really yearning to convince Kenyans that SHA is working and it is a good thing. But day in, day out, you still find these issues. We've replaced CSS, we've replaced the CEOs. I don't know, we've actually done replacements left, right, center. Maybe it's time that now they interrogate and see what is the problem and what is the panacea to all these issues, so that Kenyans can now have some faith in this noble idea.
All right. Mheshimiwa Wandeto, your thoughts, because there was some concern, as has been raised by the Member of Parliament for Nambale, around rogue hospitals, facilities that are receiving monies that really do not reflect services that can be provided in certain facilities. Just looking at it, you saw those images. But then we have the RUPA saying, you are heavily in debt to us, not just from NHIF, but SHA as well. How do you address that? How do you balance those two issues?
Thank you, Olive. And SHA is bedeviled by all number of crises. And unfortunately, it seems just to be moving from bad to worse. We started with registration, which was very difficult, if you remember at the beginning. Then after that whole thing of registration, that the system seemed to be settling down, now we have a new crisis whereby hospitals are saying they're not receiving their pay, and they're citing a number of things. First of all, they're citing discrimination, whereby certain hospitals, and we saw the list coming out, where certain hospitals were paid hefty amounts of money. Certain big hospitals which had very huge claims, they are taken round and round in circles. The second one they are complaining about, if you look at the statement from RUPA, is this whole manual intervention in what was otherwise supposed to be a digital environment. And Olive, just for quick reminders, we are spending 104 billion shillings. I think the most expensive system on earth, literally, is being deployed here in Kenya for SHA. And still, you hear the cabinet secretary talking about manual verification of records. Someone has to go through to check whether it was a tooth extraction or whether it was, another problem. And
that might be from debt accrued under NHIF.
Yes.
No, and Olive, let us not separate NHIF from SHA. If you look at the SHA Transition Act, SHA inherited all the assets and liabilities of NHIF.
Yes.
So, by the way, anybody trying to split hairs, saying that, oh, this is an NHIF debt, this is a SHA debt, this was actually a change of name. Of course, there was a change of the act in terms of benefits and whatever, but it was actually the same institution that was actually migrated to become a SHA, and they assumed the liabilities. I recently met a CEO of a private hospital, and he told me that they are owed 300 million by NHIF, yet SHA is trying to push them to offer services. So the long and short of this is, the current chest thumping by the CS for health is not helping at all. Because on one side, we are saying, oh, we must verify your bills. On the other side, the hospitals are saying, you know what? We would like to serve Kenyans, but there is nothing we can do. We have bills to pay. In the process, who suffers, Oli? I am aware as we speak, because yesterday, RUPA suspended the services from today. In my own constituency, I'm aware of 5 patients who are admitted in those small private hospitals. I spared a thought for them this morning. What is going to happen to them today? The medicine they were taking in the morning, will it be administered? The injections they were supposed to have, will they be asked to leave those hospitals? Now, as we bicker and differ and chest thump, remember, health is a life and death matter. We are actually violating Article 24 of the Constitution, the right to life.
All right. But then that's where the people's representatives come in, isn't it?
Yes.
What action can you take as legislators to address these concerns. And it's just, outside of the debt, we've carried over the weekend into this week stories of mothers who've delivered and are being detained at MTRH over unpaid bills. I think Mashima Kapombe was in Homa Bay, and the mother was saying how she's been forced to go to a traditional birth attendant because she just didn't have the money to pay for SHA, 1,000 shillings, I think it was. And so alienda kwa mkunga. So SHA, we were told, was meant to address, was supposed to introduce equality to the healthcare system. And so the vulnerable would not be locked out of the system, so to speak. When you hear these problems that are plaguing SHA and you pass legislation that enacted SHA, as a legislator, are you sitting very comfortably where you are?
Olive, let me start by saying that you have just put it very well. That SHA, this is a pooled fund that is supposed even to support basically the vulnerable. We are protecting.
Okay. I'll ask you, just press pause on that question, because we have Brian Lishenga, Dr. Brian Lishenga, who is the chairperson of the Rural Urban Private Hospitals Association. Good morning, Daktari.
Good morning, Olive. How are you doing?
Kenyans are not doing too well because following the suspension of services. Has the Health Ministry reached out to your organization?
No, I mean, we issued a notice more than 2 weeks ago, and to this day, there has been no attempt by anyone from an MOH or social health authority to talk to hospitals.
So how long, okay, this suspension affects how many facilities?
Well, our provider network is just over 720 facilities, private facilities. But we are aware that there are also faith-based facilities who, in the situation, are joining our action. So we may be looking at close to 1,000 healthcare facilities.
And you're determined to suspend the services, the SHA services, until a resolution is met. What are you looking for? What resolution would you be looking for?
So basically, we expect the Social Health Authority to meet its obligations. We have about 76 billion shillings worth of debt owed to healthcare providers, all of them private, public, faith-based, are owed about 76 billion Kenya shillings. This is, has not been contested by the Social Health Authority because it is fact. We carried over 33 billion in NHIF during from the NHIF era, and we have generated 43 billion in claims by end of August that are unpaid. In fact, what has concerned us is that instead of facing the issue squarely, we have seen the cabinet secretary instead chest thump, call hospitals fraudsters, cartels, and thieves. While, it is very clear that even his latest actions, for instance, the end of August, CS Duale rejected claims worth 10.6 billion. People thought those were claims for private hospitals. No. Immediately after that rejection, he went to Kakamega and told the Kakamega General Hospital that included 22 million of their claim. So these actions, the irresponsible talk, the actions that are rejecting valid claims, the non-payment or non-execution of the presidential directive from March of this year. On 5th of March, the president said claims carried over that were less than 10 million should be paid immediately. Nothing has happened. Instead, what we have seen the CS do instead is come out and say they will not pay without verification, and then he does not even proceed to form any verification process. The latest he has told us is that, we will wait for supplementary budget. And if that happens, hospitals are closing down only. We have, in our association, over the last 12 months alone, we have close to 100 hospitals that have either closed down, sold out, been auctioned. How many Kenyans are those who are losing jobs? Today we have suppliers who are, defaulted on bank loans because they supplied hospitals and can't get money back. this is an existential crisis for SHA, and we do not take very kindly the fact that the minister and SHA have converted this into, a back and forth, shouting match with hospitals while Kenyan patients are suffering. We are the ones on the ground. We know what is actually happening. When the president says that you walk to any hospital, care is free, we even wonder, what country is he talking about? So we want this issue of funding to SHA sorted out. They started out on the wrong footing. They have the wrong financial model. In a country where 60% unemployment exists, you can't expect people to contribute in such a country. It is very difficult. So they have fundamental problems, but they have converted it into a propaganda war instead of dealing with the issues.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Leshanga? Dr. Leshanga, I'm joined by two parliamentarians, Member of Parliament for Nambale and Member of Parliament for Tetu. I do expect the CS to be held to account and the ministry to be held to account by the legislators.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And only, just to thank the parliamentarians, but to ask them to actually do much more. Dr. James Nikalo of the Parliamentary Health Committee has had engagements with us. He has, come to the realization that something needs to change fundamentally in SHA. And just to ask our legislators, when you get back into Parliament, please interrogate the laws that you passed around SHA, because there is fundamental reform that we need to have. We think the Cabinet Secretary, the Social Health Authority, the Digital Health Agency need to be held to account. They need to tell us, by the way, for now, I would ask the parliamentarians, how much money is SHA collecting actually? These figures have never been made public. Who is being paid? Who is receiving the money that Kenyans are paying? Salaried Kenyans are paying much more than they used to pay under NHIF. So there needs to be a lot of transparency, but there also needs to be fundamental reform to the architecture of SHA. Things like SHA Pole Pole are not working. Things like proxy means testing are not working. Things like limiting Kenyans, telling them that you cannot go to this hospital, but unless if you want to get treatment, you must start at the local dispensary. Wiping out beds from health centers. There's a lot of things happening, and we hope that the parliamentarians can step up and help the Republic.
All right, Dr. Leshanga, Geoffrey Mulanya, MP Nambale, has a question for you.
Yeah. Good morning, Dr.
Thank you. Morning, Mheshimiwa. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you. You have brought an issue, and you have, in your statement, you have said here that the funding, maybe the problem could be around funding. Yes, when you say that in a country whereby unemployment is very high, perhaps could you have a suggestion so that from your end on the funding model and how we are supposed to collect this, to pull these funds together to support this SHA?
So we as an association of hospitals, along with the Kenya Medical Association, have long proposed a tax-based system for funding healthcare, especially for poor and vulnerable people. We have long said that what we need is an earmark tax. We know it's very unpopular with the National Treasury because it sort of, strings them or limits them on how they want to use money. But we need to get very bold about it. We would rather have a tax at the point of consumption and agree which commodities and products. And then we can tell Kenyans that, hey, you can walk to hospital and, care is provided for. But the idea that we are telling Kenyans register, but we are not telling them contribute, is leaving SHA in a situation, and we've done our own estimates. SHA is only collecting about 5.4 billion every month, and yet the medical claims that are coming in are in the range of 8.8 to 9 billion shillings. What does that tell you? It tells you you have more people consuming than people who are contributing. But we have an employment issue, but we don't have a consumption issue as a country. So maybe that is where we need to look at. And that's been our position as private hospitals, generally as stakeholders in health, the professional associations. We think that is the model that might be better sustainable until we get to a point where we have a significant fraction of the population that is in employment.
All right, Dr. Leshanga, before I let you go quickly, so you're saying you would not be opposed to a verification exercise. And then secondly, is there a percentage you'd be willing to accept? Because one of our panelists this morning has proposed, what you said, Wakili, 30%, maybe 50%, as a hypothetical. Yeah, Wakili Duncan Okachi is asking, would you be willing to accept a certain percentage as issues are resolved?
So there are three basic issues. One, the rejection of claims worth 10.6 billion is non-contractual, and that is for us a red line and must be reversed. That has nothing to do with money. It is just a procedural issue, and the Cabinet Secretary should immediately reverse that. There is no justification whatsoever for that. He came out saying it is corruption and fraud. We know that he did that because he could see there was no money available. But let us talk about how we can, get those ones paid. Number two, only 82 hospitals. Only 82 hospitals account for half of the NHIF debt. What I'm trying to say, 82 hospitals out of 3,741 hospitals, which are owned by NHIF, account for 15 billion. Now, honestly, if the Cabinet Secretary wants to verify claims from only 82 hospitals, he can do it in 2 weeks. So there is no reason why there should be delay around verification. He handles claims from 9,000 hospitals daily under SHA. So the whole issue of verification for the 82 hospitals that owe half of the NHIF liabilities is actually a delay. And by the way, Oli, 465 hospitals are the only ones who are owed more than 10 million. The rest of 2,800 hospitals or thereabout are owed less than 10 million. What we are requesting is that these 2,800 hospitals that are owed less than 10 million, the Cabinet Secretary has a number, it's 5.3 billion. Surely, in this country, 5.3 billion can be found to relieve the stress that the ground is feeling.
All right, thank you for speaking to us this morning, Dr. Lishenga. We will stay in touch as developments occur. Thank you for speaking to us this morning. So, gentlemen, I will put a pin in that conversation because clearly it is developing, and we'll get into it, I think, when we get into parliamentary business. But quickly, I wanted us to also reflect on Raila Odinga's statements yesterday. We'll do that on the other side of this break as we get into parliamentary business. Do take part in the conversation. The X handles are at Obarrows at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS number is 22422. See you on the other side.